All right, good morning. September 1st, 2020. Starting to look like winter here in Michigan. I am at my house this morning and gonna talk a little bit about hydraulic couplers. All right, doing the first part of this video indoors because it's snowy and windy outside, but I'm gonna go connect this stuff up to the tractor later. So on my Massey 2705, these couplers are leaking, these female quick couplers, and this I believe is a Pioneer brand. I had to replace these, and these ended up being an O-ring fitting here. Everything else I have on every tractor, instead of being O-ring thread, straight O-ring thread, they're all pipe thread, national pipe thread. But what happens on this tractor, and I'll show you this later, this block that holds the dual remotes is up against the transmission housing. It relies on this elbow here that threads in. This is a 5/8 O-ring or a straight thread. It's got an elbow here that then threads into the hose here on an angle to go over to the spool valve, okay? And the back of the tractor's kind of like right here, because I was going to just have new hoses made up for pipe thread and just said, forget this O-ring stuff, because I couldn't find a coupler that was straight thread O-ring threading at any of my farm stores. I went to Rural King, Tractor Supply, and what was interesting is there's so much confusion on what standard agricultural fittings are and what the terminology is that not even my AGCO dealer the parts guy was confused and told me that this fitting is discontinued and that they would sell me some type of bushing or something here that would convert, I think, from this O-ring to the pipe thread, and it was going to be like 80 bucks. I go, well, that's kind of ridiculous. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. So what I did, because what I have to do, this is JIC. So this threads in to the back of this coupler, 5/8 O-ring. The hoses are JIC on both ends. JIC going into the block, to the spool valve, and JIC going in to this end here. So is everybody confused? All right, good. I've accomplished what I'm talking about. So I was under the impression that this is a discontinued hydraulic fitting. None of the farm stores seem to have an O-ring. What's more confusing when you look at this is called a 7/8 by 14 ORB for O-ring boss. So you can see that there. 7/8. I'm not sure what the 7/8 means. It said 7/8 thread. Now, problem was when I went to match up this thread, and I did go to the farm store, and they did have a 5/8 O-ring hydraulic fitting that fits in here. But it's called 7/8 thread. ORB for O-ring boss. Got no idea. So I called Summit Hydraulics, looked at them online, they're in Arizona, ordered all these fittings, talking to some kid there. He didn't really know either, but he was talking to some old timer there. So let's go over terminology. These type of fittings that have this standard agricultural end that all our tractors have on it, okay, that take these type of fittings, ball valve, poppet valve, okay? Why they use the two different ones, I don't know. The poppets came with my O-ring boss couplers. Ordering complete set for the pipe thread. The pipe thread couplers come with a ball valve. Okay? All right. Now, these are This is the 7/8 is actually the diameter of the outside of the thread. Makes no sense to me. But they call it 7/8 O-ring boss. It's actually 5/8 thread. These fittings, though, that have this geometry to fit those type of nipples there are called agricultural ISO 5675 fittings. So International Standards Organization is what they classify this as a standardized 5675 fitting. So when you're at a hose place and they're making you fittings and you're trying to find fittings and couplers, rather they're making you hoses, they have no idea what you mean when you say standard agricultural fittings. So 5675, okay? This was, I believe, a Pioneer brand fitting, which is now bought by Parker. So Parker Fittings. And interestingly, I called the Parker store. We have a Parker store in Wixom, Michigan, towards Detroit. Has all sorts of fittings. They had no idea what I was talking about. I said, well, it's an O-ring fitting. It's a standard agricultural 5675 coupler. They had no idea. So how do you look stuff up? You just go to the farm store and hope they got the right stuff for you? Okay, kind of discouraging. Nobody knows what they're talking about. But so now there's different size bodies, though, in the 5675 couplers. There's 1/4 inch, which are on your tiny, tractors, but they still have this end, okay? That's your 5675. There's 1/2 inch body and 3/4 body. And I think there's 1 inch body. There isn't anything on here that measures 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch body means that somewhere internally, this coupler is designed for a 1/2 inch hose, which this is. Maybe for the flow rate. I don't really think it matters that much if you really used a 3/4 body or whatever. But that most of your couplers on your standard tractors, agricultural tractors that are the mid-size machines, 100 horse, 60, 70, whatever, have your 1/2 inch body coupler. There's nothing on here that measures 1/2 inch though, okay? This opening doesn't measure 1/2 inch, okay? But it's mainly for a 1/2 inch hose. If they say 7/8 O-ring boss, it's really a 5/8 thread. 7/8 refers to the outside diameter of the thread. That's what they told me at Summit Hydraulics. Makes no sense to me. Okay, most of your hoses are, a lot of your standard hoses you buy are just National Pipe Thread (NPT). This is JIC on both ends. Okay, so most of your hydraulics are either going to be, for our farming equipment, are going to be either JIC, O-ring, which is just a straight thread, or pipe thread. And when you go to the farm store, you'll see all three of those selection of different fittings like this and couplers. Most of the time, though, you don't see the O-ring female quick couplers at a farm store. You have to order those. So, but I was talking to a buddy of mine, Joe. He's got a John Deere 4430 and that Ford TW25, and his couplers on those are O-ring. My Massey 1105 and both of my whites and my one John Deere all have National Pipe Thread on everything. Makes it more simple. So I'm going to go and get these hoses on, changing my fittings because they were leaking. I was losing pressure. And while I was at it, just doing new hoses. Joe made up some new hoses for me yesterday because when I went to the auto parts to have them make up hoses, they were all confused on everything. So a little bit of nomenclature, but 5675, 1/2 inch body, 2 types of ends, poppet, ball valve. Maybe somebody can enlighten me what the use is, why you use the different ones when you do, but they're both interchangeable because I have both of these on different pieces of equipment. All right, so this is what I got. We didn't have the long fitting here with a 45 elbow, so we added on this swivel. We cut one hose too short, so I had to use the old hose. But the problem I'm having now is getting these to fit inside this block. The barrel of these Summit hydraulics maybe isn't quite as wide here, and I'm trying to get this block, you know, they kind of don't work ideal in there. This one won't even lock in. So I may have to try to find those old barrels or modify this somehow. That's the problem, is trying to find when you get aftermarket fittings that didn't come with the tractor, even though they're the same standard agricultural fitting, you know, coupler, they might not fit in these coupling holders. And you see on the Pioneer rack at the farm stores, you can buy those holders for those Pioneer fittings, but they don't hold anything else besides the Pioneer, it seems like. Went to a junkyard and got some off a white tractor that worked for my white, and they work on the other, you know, some other type of couplings. But anyways, these are the this another thing I gotta contend with is modifying the holder. Those are hard to find. This is those standard ISO couplers. I do remember that years ago, my New Holland dealer, the owner of the dealer, he called them that 5675 coupler. And the old guy used to own my old AGCO dealer that's not in business anymore, Mr. Hofferbert, he called these a class 3 hydraulic coupler. And if you look on some of them, there's 3 hash marks a lot of times on the barrel. 3 hash marks right there. And he called these a class 3 hydraulic standard egg fitting coupler. But I don't think they use that classification anymore. And he said, yeah, there would be these 3 hash marks. Otherwise, they're that ISO standard coupler. And that's what my New Holland dealer years ago started calling them. But I just need to do a little bit of a review on it. But anyways, some of you out there that are mechanics probably got some idea why O-rings versus pipe fitting versus JIC. I don't know why and how they decide to use the different threads. All right, thanks for watching.